アルフォンス先生はですね、南米の感染症領域の重鎮の先生で、特に旅行医学にお詳しい方で、コロナの、パンデミックがあった後にですね、私たちとも、共同研究を数年ほどやってくださっています。で、今回そのポストコロナの話をしてほしいというふうにお話したら、今はかなりあちらの国々では、モンキーポックス、サル痘がすごく問題になっているということで、そちらの話をしてくださるということになりました。途中ですね、結構生々しい写真があったりもしますので、そちらに関してはご容赦いただければ幸いです。では今から、発表をさせていただきます。
Much for the invitation. In the next following 8 minutes, I would like to speak about monkeypox. It's actually Alfonso from Colombia, the president of our National Society of Infectious Diseases. And I had no conflict of interest to declare for this presentation. Since this was discovered in 1958, in Denmark, by the way, it has been very important to understand that this has been a neglected zoonotic disease that was confined to Africa. But certainly, this disease, originally described in non-human primates, is now causing a concern because of its spread. And as you know, on July, the World Health Organization declared this as a public health emergency of international concern. So this has been expanded with even possible evolution into 3 clades of this virus, that this is a DNA virus that is important, especially in Africa since 1970. And right now, with this new clade, lineage, B1 has been important. But certainly the spread of this disease has been shown in multiple studies and in epidemiological data, now comprise close to 80,000 cases that have been confirmed in locations that have not historically reported monkeypox. That means over 100 countries in the world in different continents, including even Japan, as you will see here, but especially in the Americas, with the United States, Brazil, in the case also Colombia and Peru are important places. And even here in Latin America, this has been a very important situation where, as we published months ago in the Lancet Regional Health America, fortunately, the preparedness that we have as consequence of COVID-19 pandemic has been important to face this new situation regarding monkeypox. But certainly during this epidemiological surveillance of what happened, especially after May in United Kingdom and other countries in Europe, is related to the fact that many of the spreading occurred during Pride parties, and that was the case in Portugal, in Spain, in Gran Canarias, as well in Belgium and other countries in Europe. And as you will see from epidemiological data, most of the cases have occurred, in fact, in men, although not only in men, it may occur also in female, in children, in older population. But this has been important related to the fact that among them, a high rate of incidents among men who have sex with men have occurred. And that was one of the points related to the fact that this has been investigated regarding the detection, and this was the first report in Italy from Andrea Antinori, of this virus at the seminal fluid. In other countries such as Germany and in other cases in Italy, this has been also reported, the detection of the virus at the seminal fluid. Obviously, this is also concurrent with the type of lesions that are now predominantly observed in the 2022 cases that are located in genital area, especially with the differential diagnosis that we have to make with other sexually transmitted infections. And the questions are related to all these clinical patterns, this acquisition during the sexual activity, that this is a possible sexual transmission that is occurring regarding monkeypox. And some even systematic reviews that we have performed may show different patterns related to the sexual behavior, previous sexually transmitted infection, an important occurrence among HIV population, and especially, as I mentioned, the detection of the virus in the semen that in different studies have been performed. In this recent systematic review we performed, you may see that in fact the pool prevalence of the detection of this virus in semen specimens is around 72%, which is really high. And again, leading us to make us the question if monkeypox is another sexually transmitted infection. It's important to remember that monkeypox may be transmitted by different ways, droplets, the close contact, but this possibility during sexual activity is the most important, regardless the sexual fluids. Nevertheless, it's important to consider that other non-human diseases caused by other pox-viridae pathogens have been also reported. The case of the seminal transmission of lumpy skin disease virus in heifers in these animals. It's important to consider this possibility that in fact can be also sexually transmitted. But a recent study published in Nature Microbiology also detect retrospectively the monkeypox virus in testes of non-human primate survivors. And this is important also to consider that there is a tissue tropism of this virus by these genital areas. So it's important. The virus can be detected there. Probably the replication is important. But at the end, and to finish, we have to remember that the clinical pattern changed. The patients don't present with this presentation, but instead of that, with initially genital rash, genital ulcers, as has been reported in multiple studies and case report, even in New England Journal of Medicine, this kind of presentation, perianal and penile ulcers, single lesions, even proctitis that has been also important during this outbreak. And finally, to remember the importance of the differential diagnosis. Also the perioral lesions, important to consider, the possibility of concurrent sexually transmitted infections, and sometimes previous sexually transmitted infections are important, in this case in Spain, as well this case that we published recently. It's important to consider this in terms of the differential diagnosis. Also remember, as I mentioned, oral and perioral lesions, the situation with perianal, anal, rectal lesions, and more points of discussion. This will be online in the next few days. You may read it regarding the evidence leading to consider this possibility of this situation with the sexual transmission. Finally, to remember, this may occur also not only in men, but also in women. And this is a study very interesting to consider in these possibilities. Remember co-infections, and this is the World Health Organization guidelines. Just a word, there is a vaccination, but only for a high-risk population. Thank you very much for your attention.